degree from NYU in 1999 and has been licensed in California since 2005. She's worked in a variety of settings, including community-based organizations, schools, residential programs, and medical facilities. She was a clinical supervisor for 10 years. In 2017, she had to leave her profession due to a medical condition, and when she returned in 2021, so much had changed. She was forced to leave her job. Her new job due to the California COVID mandates. I feel your pain, girl. Same for me. This emboldened her to speak out on all the problems she observed in the mental health field. She also wrote a parent's guide to mental health to educate and empower parents to better navigate the medical health system and to never blindly trust experts. Never blindly trust them. She has appeared in several documentaries on trans agenda and has been a powerful voice to stop the indoctrination of our children in the mental health system. Pamela's website is thetruthfultherapist.org, which is on here.
It's in your pamphlet. It's in this too. I put a pamphlet.
And everybody today leaves with this purple bag, which has a lot of resources and information for you. So without any further ado, Pamela, thank you.
It's kind of weird because I feel like I've been talking to you guys already for a while. That was me in the film. So I'm not going to go over what was in the film. What I thought I'd go over was actually, I just sort of incognito attended a therapy conference right here in Santa Clara, and I wanted to tell you guys what they're teaching the therapists so you guys can know when they tell you something, and also just know, I don't know how wacky they are at this point. But my message, as I'm telling you all these things, there are good therapists out there. There are people that don't believe in this. They're just silenced and they're very quiet. So my goal is for you to be able to weed out all the ones that are unfortunately brainwashed and find the ones that are doing the right thing, but just very quietly. So I want... Okay, so first of all, in there, I talked about the DSM, which is the Diagnostical Statistical Manual that we use to diagnose people with mental health disorders. There are issues with that, but now they're completely rejecting it entirely within gender dysphoria. In 2013 is when it changed from gender identity disorder to gender dysphoria, as we spoke about in the film, that, to destigmatize it. Well, now they're not even looking at gender dysphoria as a thing. Well, they're not looking at it as any kind of distress. They don't like that it says distress in the DSM. That's too harsh for them. They don't want to see it as a problem. They want to look at it as if you just have a different color hair or something like that. Like it's just, a character trait. So they're not looking at any kind of distress. So I want you to know that. And they literally said the DSM has been colonized because the language is too binary. So just so you know, that's where they're at today. As you saw in the film, therapists are trained basically to shut out the family and the parents. So you are now, if you are a child with a transgender identity, you are looked at as a barrier. And I took an entire training on how to support parents of transgender identity. But what that training really was how to manipulate you to go along with all the transgender medicine. I'm calling it medicine, it's not medicine. The transgender disruption. Yeah. So this woman who taught this class, she used this metaphor, get the parents on the bus. Which, ooh, that gave me the heebie-jeebies. So if you're a parent, and Exactly, right? So if you're a parent that has questions, then you're in the way. I wrote down some quotes. Every doubt is transphobic. Transphobia causes denial. There is grace in denial. So she is quoting Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She's the woman who did the model on grief. And she's conflating it now that if you have grief about, they're just looking at, you're not accepting your child's transgender identity, you're grieving and you're in denial, as opposed to being logical and recognizing there might be something else wrong and something going on in your family, and you know it, but you have questions. So these are the manipulation tactics that they have. They're getting more complicated than just your kid will kill themselves. They're actually getting away from that a little bit because they know we're educating, the parents are getting educated on that line, so they're actually darting around it a little bit. What else? So let's see. Okay, so there was a doctor that taught us that puberty blockers are completely reversible. You guys have probably heard that already.
UCSF.
Yeah, they do that at UCSF. This woman was from Los Angeles Children's Hospital. She put a column, 3 different columns. One, things that are reversible, and she put puberty blockers in the same column as getting a new haircut and wearing different clothing. This was an MD to a group of over 100 therapists, professionals, and people were believing it. So this is why people think this is okay. They're not using their critical thinking. They're listening to a doctor, an expert, tell them this. So we all know it's not reversible. We know that there's an FDA warning against puberty blockers, and it will cause brain swelling, and vision loss, and bone problems, and a whole host of other things that I think Erin will tell you about. It's in your packet. But this is what they're teaching. The other really thing, I try to understand. I mean, at this point when I did this documentary, I didn't really know how they think. I just didn't understand. I was just like, what are they doing? Well, so they believe that gender dysphoria is what's causing depression or anxiety or other issues, as opposed to how I would think, and any other logical person would think, if you are anxious and depressed, you might gravitate towards being trans because of all the issues we talked about, having a sense of belonging and so on. So there's just so many things. I don't want to take up too much time here. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of victim and oppressor narratives. So they brought in race. So this was a line. If you're a racialized person, you already experience white supremacy and oppression. So if you're a racialized, they don't even say if you're black or Hispanic, then you're racialized. And so let's combine that oppression thing with now trans, and we have to be aware of that. And if you as a parent or anyone doesn't acknowledge the victim oppression narrative, then you're a bigot. So, I was directly instructed to call CPS if a parent does not affirm, because I was told that I should be concerned about the child's safety. I just learned this past Friday, by the way. That's how recent this was, in Santa Clara. The other thing I was also instructed was if there was a custodial battle between 2 parents,
Exploited.
that I should favor the parent that affirms the child if that's happening, and shut out the parent that is not, and not work with them together and listen to both sides. That's another thing I was trained. Let's see, what else? Yeah, so they're just really talking about how much they suffer, which is really interesting, yet we're not supposed to acknowledge that there's any distress. And this is a line. At what point is it mean to let these children suffer? Because we have to affirm them. If we don't affirm them, they suffer. So these are the things, and I really felt like the swirlies going around. You know, honestly, even myself, clearly I'm aware of what's going on. I'm in the documentary. I know what's going on. And even while I was sitting there, I felt myself getting manipulated because they were talking so fast. They were using all this language, And they didn't leave any time for questions or time for you to stop and think for a minute and be like, wait a second. So, oh yeah, and by the way, they are now going by, starting age 3, children know themselves.
Try 30.
I mean, actually, there was a Boston Children's Hospital video that said they know in utero, but then they got in trouble because when you're in utero, you're just a clump of cells, so there was like a problem with that, so they took it down. So, but I could go on, but you get the idea. But what I want to go over is what you can do as a parent and things to look out for. Okay, so first of all, don't let them manipulate you. They are very skillful, and they're really not, like honestly, they're nice. The woman that was teaching how to help parents, she was using this really compassionate tone. She was using this, all the grief, like, oh, and support them, and it's really hard for them. If they're struggling, it's hard for them. Be really supportive, so they'll be kind of kind to you, so you'll feel like they're on your side, but meanwhile, they're just trying to manipulate you. So if you feel uneasy, listen to that feeling, listen to your guts. That's my big message to parents. And that goes across the board for doctors, teachers. Listen to your gut. Don't let someone with letters behind their name intimidate you if you think something's wrong and something's off. You are the parent. Make sure if your child's in therapy that you are heavily involved. And if you're not involved, that's a red flag. If they don't involve you. So that's the most important thing. And I have 30 seconds. So, the last thing I want to say in the last 30 seconds is they're afraid of us. It's working, you guys. That instructor, she said, oh my gosh, there's all these bills, and we're really afraid, and we're now everything's being set back, and it's really terrible. And I was secretly, quietly in the back of the room cheering in my mind because she said, oh, we made all this progress, but now we're not making progress. So what we're doing, it's working. It is working. The fact that this event is happening, when people are talking, keep talking to each other. So that's all I have to say. Thank you guys.
Amazing, thank you. It's just crazy what they're forcing.
Yes.
Physicians and therapists.
Wait, actually, can I say one more thing? Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say, when I was at the conference and I had one-on-one conversations with every single person that I had, they didn't know this was going on, the people that weren't in the room with me. And they disagreed with me. Even really far left people, they were surprised. So a lot of people really just still aren't aware, even those on the left. They kind of make this assumption that, oh, they're still exploring and they go to gender clinics. So they're pushing all this stuff, but a lot of people really don't understand. And there are a lot of people that disagree with this, even those on the left. This is not a conservative issue.
Correct.
That was actually a great segue for me to introduce our next speaker.